And when I accepted the job, when I felt like the ICC was giving me enough to take the job, I proposed two things. One, when's the next board meeting? Well, apparently there hadn't been one for a year or a year and a half. So they said that the first board meeting would be on or about the last day or two of March of 2009, and it would be at the new stadium in Fort Lauderdale, which was going to be my first time to go see it in reality. And so I said I would come and then attend a 2-day board meeting. And I did not know that the board meeting a year or so earlier had ended in a vote of no confidence for the chairman, except that he won that vote. So everybody was still intact. But I believe that's why there had not been another board meeting. So when I get to the board meeting, I'm introduced to the board. They're very warmly welcoming me, at least into my face. And I then presented the same proposal that I had shown the interview committee. I said, if that had worked, why don't I at least present to the board something I had hoped they had all seen. I learned that they had not seen it, and that basically the interview committee made the decision without the rest of the board. So I already know there's 7 or 8 guys who don't know me from Adam, and just 3 or 4 people from the board committee. So I give the presentation, which leads to an interesting discussion where they are dubious about any capability I have to go get the ICC to give millions of dollars, or that I would be able to go out and get sponsors worth millions of dollars, or that I would put a plan together to do a worldwide tender to see about sharing or selling our commercial rights. Well, what commercial rights did we even have? I said, well, if their ICC is thinking that they're going to make the United States a big-time player in world cricket, then they must be investing. We want to make sure that that investment has our stamp of approval. But what does it also mean? To me, it meant bringing in international cricket to the United States, which would be our rights, and we would get a piece of those commercial rights, might make sponsors. I also made it clear that I thought we needed to do, I didn't want to call it the trickle-down effect, but I said, sponsors want to know that the U.S. national team is actually somebody they should sponsor. And so if we can make some heroes and stars out of U.S. cricket, I believe then we can get sponsorship. And once we get sponsorships, we're going to professionalize our coaches and our athletes. I said I would like to have a team of 30 to 50 of the best players in the United States under contract so that they're full-time athletes. And he said I didn't think that should be too hard to do when we also knew that 19, 20, or 25 of them would always need to be on call as the next team up to go play wherever. Then I was astonished to find that, well, we don't even play the West Indies. Here we are in the United States, and we weren't playing Jamaica or Trinidad, because they're the West Indies, and we couldn't even play those countries. Well, I'm just coming from all those countries. I knew all their cricket administrators, so I promised that I would work out something with a country-by-country basis. And I learned that we would play in tournaments in places like Italy and Abu Dhabi and Nepal and Singapore and other places like that before we would play in Jamaica, Barbados, or Trinidad. So I was going to have to learn on the job how cricket was done and managed. So I'll just say that I thought things started well, but on the end of the first day of the board meeting, there was a threat of a fist fight between one board member and I'll just say another board member, highly positioned. And the whole rest of the board meeting turned back into a vote of no confidence. And this is my first day on the job. And I'm sitting here going, what the hell have I just gotten myself into? I drove home. I chose not to join the board for dinner because it ended so badly, and I didn't want in any way to look like I knew, because I didn't, knew who to side with. I just said, I'll see you gentlemen tomorrow morning. And I said, I hope by tomorrow morning things are back to being civil and we can actually get some things done, and I get direction how you want me to proceed. The second day went fine. So I was a little happier, let's say. But let me just say that the rest of that weekend, there was some training camp going on with the U.S. national team. So we were also there to not just have a board meeting, but to meet players and watch players and train players. So I'm sitting in the grandstands, and I would have basically 10-minute one-on-one conversations with each board member who wanted to come and tell me his private agenda, what his vision was for U.S. cricket, and who I should trust and who I shouldn't trust on the board. Again, I had just been the COO of a World Cup. I understood politics. I understood nationalities and ethnicities, all the things that I ran into in my days at the Cricket World Cup. But I realized USA Cricket was very ethnic in the sense that there were West Indians on the board, there were Indians on the board, South Asians on the board, Pakistanis and Indians, and then one Brit. And so that was my board. And they absolutely created their own cliques and fiefdoms and what was the right thing to happen. And I realized that everybody came from a region. So instead of looking at it at USA Cricket, it was being looked at from their regional perspective. So I realized that that was okay, this is the lot in life that I've accepted. I'm learning on the job, and I'm going to be the best CEO I can be. What I did say to them was, having worked for the ICC and a very, very professional board of the Cricket World Cup, I said, I'm always accessible to you. I want to know what you would like to see USA Cricket become. I need to learn from you. I'll listen. But a CEO generally is given direction by the board, and quarterly you meet with me and you tell me if you're happy with what we're doing as I report our progress or our lack, and I update you on the finances of what we've got and our plans for the future, and you guys give me the go-ahead, yes or the no, and then let me be for the next 3 months to make it happen. That never happened, Peter. I would wake up at 6 a.m. with 30 emails from various board members, most of them fighting with each other with me copied, of what we should do, what shouldn't we do, why was this being done, how could this person be selected on a team, who's going to be the coach, how are we paying the bills? And then I'd also read things about Lockerbie that I didn't think they knew I was copied on the email. But this is my first 2 or 3 months. And maybe it's time for another question, but that's how I got involved, and that's how I started basically on 1 April 2009.
I was going to say, not just you were copied on some of those emails, I was copied on some of those emails. A lot of USA board members love copying random people just to kind of show how much they love to hate each other. And I mean, one of the other things you said, Don, earlier, were you trying to imply that when you were working at FIFA World Cups and Cricket World Cups and with the Olympics, there were never any threatened fistfights at board meetings at any of these events?
Well, not in my face, and not certainly on my first day. Maybe people wanted to, but it was a little more tactful, let's say. That particular experience never left my mind, because in the end, when I did depart, I had to go back and remind people of that first day and what I had been introduced and how I'd been introduced, and kind of the one arm behind my back approach I had to the entire position. But, I took it, and I know only one way forward. I was once told that Ferraris don't have a rear view mirror on the right side of the car because nobody's ever supposed to pass you on the right side. And I felt like, okay, we're just going to move forward. We don't look backwards, we look forward. And that was the approach.
You discussed, not by name, a lot of board members there. I will ask you one by name, the one that everybody wants to know about. What was your first impression of Gladstone Dainty, and what was your relationship like with him?
I think publicly my relationship was good. One of the first things he did was invite me up to D.C., where he is based. And we had a day or two of communication of his vision for it and what he could do to help. And of course, I got updated on the past and what had happened and who was on my board and why and what to watch out for, etc. And so he took me around his neighborhoods and showed me, cricket in the neighborhood and why he was involved and his Guyanese roots. And I felt like he was a supporter. I would say that probably in the end, he may have felt like I wasn't a supporter of his, and therefore he didn't support me in the end. But I will only have good things to say about him in the sense that he shared my vision for excellence on the cricket pitch for the U.S. national team. And he shared my vision of let's go find some money. Let me have a fresh approach at it. And so if I asked him to be on a phone call, if I asked him at an ICC meeting in London or in Singapore, where he traveled with me to have meetings with individuals who I thought could support U.S. cricket, he was there. And if I asked him to meet and help me present something to the ICC, he was there. So, I've heard all the stories about the past and the rumors, I will just tell you that he was the person that I could pick up the phone call daily, and he would tell me not to worry about all those emails. But in the end, I can't say for sure what was happening behind the scenes. What I can say is that in public and to my face, he was always cordial and supportive.